Solving systems of equations by elimination. In a previous lesson, we learned how to solve a system of equations using substitution. Okay, just for comparison, let's try that with this system here. Let's say you had two numbers whose sum is 10, but their difference is 2. Do you think you could figure out what those two numbers are in your head? Take a second, pause the video if you need to, see if you can figure out what those numbers are. Hopefully, you figured out those numbers were 6 and 4. Now, let's see how we got the 6 and 4 using the substitution method from last week. We will find the two numbers using the following system of equations. X plus y equals 10, and x minus y is equal to 2. Now, let's say we're solving this system using substitution from last week. If you remember, the first step in using substitution is to pick one of the equations and solve it for a variable. I'm going to take the second equation and solve it for y. If I do that, that's the second equation, I will need to subtract x from both sides. And once I do that, I get negative y is equal to 2 minus x. Finally, to isolate the y, I need to divide both sides by negative 1. Having done that, I get y is equal to x minus 2, which means I'm going to substitute the expression x minus 2 for y in the next step, which is exactly what we'll do. We'll substitute y equals 2x minus 2 into the first equation. And so instead of the y, we'll put in a substitute, x minus 2. When we do that, we can combine our like terms. We can isolate the x by adding 2 to both sides and dividing by 2. Having done that, we get x is equal to 6. And for the third step, since we now know what x is, we can use x to find y. If we substitute x equals 6 into the first equation, then we're basically figuring out what do you add to 6 in order to get 10. So we can figure that out by subtracting 6 from both sides. And that tells you y is equal to 4. So the answer to the system is the ordered pair 6, 4. 6 plus 4 is 10, and 6 minus 4 is 2. Satisfy the system. Now, if this seems to be doing too much, you may be pleased to know that there is another method called elimination that arrives at the same solution, but in fewer steps. By the way, do not forget to check your work. Either do it by hand or by graph. So with elimination, we eliminate the variable y by adding the equations together and solving the resulting equation for x. For example, and if you want to take good notes on this one, so I've highlighted the area where you need to write. So x plus y equals 10, x minus y is equal to 2, that's the system. You see that if we add these equations together, we'll be adding a pair of opposites, additive inverses as a matter of fact, or a zero pair. If we add these equations just like they are, x plus x is 2x. The y's are the zero pair, and 10 plus 2 is 12. Now to find x, all we got to do is divide both sides by 2, and x is equal to 6, just like before. That was almost immediate. So now that we know what x is, then it's easy to find y just like we did before. Since x is equal to 6 and 6 plus y is equal to 10, that means y is equal to 4. Thus, the answer to the system is the ordered pair 6, 4. So as you can see, that was a lot faster using elimination. Let's try another example. Let's solve this system using elimination. Okay. Notice that if you add these two equations together, you immediately see that you have the additive inverses 2y and negative 2y in the middle, and they're going to immediately be eliminated when you add the equations together. That's going to give you a 2x on the left, and 11 minus 5 is 6 on the right. with the 0 paragon, of course. If you divide both sides by 2 to isolate the x, you're going to get x is equal to 3. And now that we know what x is, it's just a matter of substituting the value of x into x plus 2y plus 11, the first equation. I used that because it didn't have a minus in it. And substitute x is equal to 3. Let's subtract 3 from both sides. And we'll get 2y is equal to 8. Isolate the y by dividing both sides by 2. And you get y is equal to 4, which tells you that the solution to this system is the ordered pair 3, 4. Here is a copy of my notes for this section. Feel free to copy from this slide, stop the video to copy them. And then I want you to try the practice problems we have for you in this section.